Howdy, folks, and welcome to TuneScores, the place where music reviews are a lot like cheap furniture, hastily assembled at the last minute and completely unvarnished. My name's Cary Nightingale, and with me as always is Kevin Niebrick. Kevin, how are you?
I'm doing excellent.
Good, I'm glad to hear it. And I hope you're excited because in this episode, we're covering 3 of our favorite songs that come from a very specific subset. And that subset is seasonal, appropriate for Halloween music videos. So here recently, Kevin and I, we put together a playlist of music videos that we thought would be appropriate to the Halloween season. We call it the Trick or Treat Feel the Beat playlist that you can find on our YouTube channel. Now, when we were assembling this playlist, I noticed a pretty stark contrast, Kev, between the music videos that you were drafting into selection and the ones that I picked that I thought would be appropriate. And that difference was mine were good and yours were funny. So, Kev, why don't you give us a brief? We'll cover a lot more depth on this a little bit later in the episode when we do the Fireside Chat, but give us a little sneak peek into your thought process.
Yeah, I love Halloween. It's fun for everybody. And I think, when you're a kid, you get to dress up, you stay up late, and they're literally handing out candy in the streets. And then you grow up a little bit more, maybe you're a little too old for trick-or-treating, and you're mainlining candy at this point, so that doesn't work anymore. So you can start watching scary movies to give yourself, an adrenaline high. And then you get a little bit older, scary monsters maybe don't do it for you anymore. But now you're on to real drugs and alcohol, so you can start going to keggers. So I like Halloween. There's a lot of good memories there. It's a lot of fun. So I looked for videos I thought were just fun and playful, maybe with some ghouls and some goblins in there.
Okay, so having the image of maybe a classic monster like a vampire, I noticed that was something that featured fairly heavily, or zombies. Having that visual along with really any track was probably okay for you. I know I was looking for a little bit more consistency in the unsettling nature of the minor key audio, along with, generally speaking, scenes of violence or danger or menace or monstrosities. But that should give you folks at home a little bit of a window into our personalities, just enough so that you know where we're coming from with the TuneScores. Now, the 3 tracks that we've decided to TuneScore for this episode are If I Had a Heart by Fever Ray, Every Day by Weyes Blood, and Longhorn by Wovenhand. We'll start with If I Had a Heart, and I'll take the honors first if you're okay with that, Kev.
Do go on.
So for Fever Ray's If I Had a Heart, I found scrutinizing the lyrics to be a bit of a bore. The words all seem chosen to a purpose which can be a real chore. The rhyme scheme could have taken us from shore to door, but instead it's hollow at its core. I guess what I'm saying is more, gimme more, gimme more. Seriously though, everything about this track is crafted in a way to impart a sense of doom in the listener, from its steady cello and droning bass to the variously pitch-shifted and multi-tracked vocals to the sparse yet icy synthesizers. I rated the composition of 3.0 out of 4. Everything fit its purpose, and it was unnerving. For the performance and the production, I had no notes and rated them solidly at 1.0 out of 1.2 each. And for the appeal, because it does such a good job, both the song and the video, of imparting that emotionality, that sense of doom and dread, I gave it full marks for emotion, but it's not a song that you can listen to every day because of that. And I've talked about this, about a number of songs that are very dark and therefore probably not good for your health to listen to every day. So I rated the repeat listenability at 3/4 credit, giving it a total for the appeal at 3.1 out of 3.6 and an overall tune score for Fever Ray, If I Had a Heart, was 8.1 out of 10. But Kev, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this one. Did you feel tricked or did you feel treated by it?
No, this was perfect. I think you picked a great song for specifically what you were looking for, an unsettling mood. High marks across the board for composition. Fever Ray received 3.1 out of 4 possible points. The lyrics were few in number and simplistic, but that didn't detract from my overall appreciation of this piece. Everything comes together to make this song effectively, again, unsettling. For performance and production, Fever Ray earned 1.0 out of 1.2 for both. No notes here, well done. And I gave Fever Ray 2.9 out of 3.6 points for appeal. High scores for emotion and innovation, but a slightly lower score for repeat listenability. Again, like you said, maybe don't listen to it every day. I imagine I'll have to be in a certain mood to want to listen to this song, but thankfully, Halloween is just around the corner. My overall tune score for Fever Ray's If I Had a Heart is 8 out of 10.
Wonderful. So we ended up with different attributions among the different categories, but very close in overall score. So that'll have a composite score of 8.05 out of 10. Our next track, this was one of your picks, Kev, and I think it, on first listen, goes really well with how I described your thought process in picking music videos for our purpose here. But I want you to tell us about Every Day by Weyes Blood.
Weyes Blood received 3 out of 4 points for composition. Again, high marks all around. With an oddly dark intro bass line and a mood that seems to jump back and forth between tranquility and uncertainty, delivered with a sweet, carefree vocal melody, it really makes this song bright and sunny with just a hint of impending doom. The lyrics were not my favorite aspect of this piece, but I did manage to find a favorite line. Got a lot of years of bad love to make okay. Performance and production, Weyes Blood earned 1.0 out of 1.2 for both. Again, no specific notes here. And I gave Weyes Blood 3.0 out of 3.6 points for appeal. Emotion here just misses me for 1.2 out of 1.6 points. 0.2 out of 0.4 points for innovation, but I gave her full credit for repeat listenability. I think it still plays for our music video playlist because of that stark contrast between the lighthearted vocal performance and, well, you'll see in the video what happens. But it's unexpected and it's fun. Final tune score for Weyes Blood Every Day for me was 8.0 out of 10.
Kev, I could not agree with you more about the fact that it is unexpected and fun, because I was not expecting you to pick such a good song and music video for the playlist. I really liked Every Day by Weyes Blood, more so the song than the video. I was completely on board with the lyrics until the verse where the singer initiates sexual contact with a random guy, not because of that content, but because there are so many strange word choices. Sitting silly, looked at me. Is this the end of all the love in me? And I said, not too bad. They just seem strange when you actually listen deeply to them, especially considering so many really good lyrics or interesting turns of phrases. I'm surprised, Kev, that you didn't mention another phrase that I thought you might, because I know how much you like turning an idiom on its head, which is kind of an idiom itself.
It is now.
The world's first rodeo. I liked that line. The rhythm in Every Day is simple and steady through most of the piece, but the vocal melodies and harmonization are extremely refreshing in 2019 when this song came out, and even still in 2020 when we're recording this. I rated the composition at 3.3 out of 4. I rated the performance at 0.9 out of 1.2. It's just ever so slightly lower than a standard professionally produced track that we would expect, just because of that relaxed or carefree attitude of the singer. Production is solid and professional at 1.0 out of 1.2. I rated the appeal at 3.0 out of 3.6. I thought that while a little extra emotion in the singer's delivery might have imparted more emotion onto me as the listener, Every Day is still a well-crafted tune that should stand up to repeat listens, especially when those repeat listens yield something different each time. The first time I heard it, I didn't notice that bass line or the way that there's some tension building near the last minute. And then instead of resolving, it just falls apart and then ends in this twinkly or atmospheric synthesizer space. So I rated Every Day at 8.2 out of 10. Kev, I'm really glad that you were able to find the video and recommend the song, not just for our Halloween playlist, but also for a tune scoring. So excellent job there. And for our final tune scored track this evening, we have Longhorn by Wovenhand. Now, Longhorn is admittedly one of my favorite songs, and I've heard it nigh on 1,000 times. It's a drop D, bass and guitar locked in mesh, riff heavy rocker. It's only now under closer intentional scrutiny that I've heard and appreciated a few things like the palm muted guitar strumming that mimics the second hand on a second hand pocket watch, or the reducing tempo after the last chorus that tricks you into thinking the song's about to fade out, but really there's an extra minute where the band kicks into overdrive again, and the singer emits yelps and howls that'll make your pets stand at attention. I hadn't really noticed those things, but now I'm glad I did. But here's what else I found. Lyrically, Longhorn features some really odd choices, but they're mostly in later verses, so it's not something that's going to turn a listener off near the beginning. Chicken Battle Dance Under Thunderhead's Loom is an example that sounds good to the ear, but twists the mind on closer inspection. I really love the opener. Longhorn, trigger happy, gun shy. I hear the laughing stalk. Texas on the bottom, Montana on top. And other lines like, you don't know me from Adam, down here in the lamplight. Melodies, both vocal and instrumental, shine here, as does the foreboding rhythm and the way that it shifts tempo very easily. I rated the composition at a 3.5 out of 4. The performance rated slightly higher than the average professionally produced track at 1.1 out of 1.2. Top marks for feel from the performers. I don't know if they all believe in the same God, but they play like they do on this track. And the production was strong at 1.0 out of 1.2. I will say the mix sounded a little flat for about the first minute, but it really came alive and broadened out once the full band came in. Now, since this is one of my favorite songs by one of my favorite artists, it should be no surprise that Longhorn earned full credit in both emotionality and repeat listenability. I've talked before about separation of church and song, but David Eugene Edwards gets a pass from me every time because I can hear his inner conflict across his entire discography. I'll listen to this track till the end of my days and a lot of other Wovenhand and 16 horsepower tracks as well. I think you should at least give it a shot. Kev, I rated this one at a 9.0 out of 10. I think it may be my highest tune score to date. I would love to hear what you thought of it.
Yeah, I'm going to leave with the tune score and say that, we had the same tune score for this song. So our breakdown might be a little bit different, but I think we both really like this one. Wovenhand received 3.6 out of the 4 possible points for composition. This song is typical DEE. The lyrics are somewhat nonsensical, but he utilizes clever wordplay and evocative language very effectively. High marks across the board. My favorite line, sure is pretty, I'm pretty sure. For performance, I think Wovenhand earned a full credit for performance. He nailed both accuracy and feel for 1.2 points out of 1.2. Production, 1.0 out of 1.2 available points. Very well done. And as far as appeal goes, I gave Wovenhand 3.2 out of 3.6. I love this track. Wovenhand received, again, an overall tune score of 9 out of 10.
Wonderful. So again, not just close, but spot on. Probably now our highest rated tune scored track. So at a 9.0 out of 10. It's a banger, sort of, but definitely worth a listen. And we encourage you, as always, check out the updated TuneScored tracks playlist on our Sound Appraiser YouTube channel, where you'll find all of the tracks that we've granted a tune score to. You'll also find the videos for these 3 songs from today's episode in the Trick or Treat Feel the Beat playlist that's also on the Sound Appraiser YouTube channel. That said, I think it's time for a short break. This one's brought to you by that bubbling cauldron out in the woods. Go ahead and take a sip. What's the worst that could happen? We'll be right back. Howdy, folks, and welcome back. I think this would be a great time for us to talk about, in a little bit more depth, the different approaches that you could have and that Kev and I definitely had when looking for songs and music videos that are Halloween season appropriate, as we did when compiling the Trick or Treat Feel the Beat playlist on our channel. So, Kev, my approach was I started with the emotion that I wanted to be made to feel by listening to a song or in this case, watching the music video. So I wanted to be made to feel unnerved or unsettled or disgusted or discouraged or maybe agitated, frightened, or most of all, uncomfortable. And now thinking about me, I'm not a big scary movie guy. I'm just a big guy. The things that make me feel uncomfortable, or any of those other terms that I mentioned, violence, danger or peril, menace, gloominess, obsession, abominations, monstrosities, and specifically, I'm looking for a match, consistency between the audio and the visual. I don't usually like a really lighthearted song and a sort of dark visual matched to it, or vice versa. So I'm looking for that consistency and some probably more stereotypically scary or spooky or creepy kind of things being featured in it. But Kev, I'd love to hear a little bit more about your thought process in going about selecting songs. And then I think we should probably talk about, maybe not necessarily fully defend the entire list, but talk about some of our picks and why.
Well, I think you're right. I think that that's the first thing that comes to mind is you want to pick something scary and spooky, and that's good. I think there's a lot of it out there right now, especially. I like your picks because they tend to be a little bit more obscure. I might not have found them on my own, and that's why I like your picks. The reason I picked most of my music videos is because, I feel frightened and uncomfortable on a regular basis. And so for Halloween, I kind of wanted something that's going to make me feel good, for a change and make me, kind of feel like a kid again and just all that fun stuff. So that's what I was looking for when I picked my music videos. I think it shows.
So almost more of a distraction, really. Okay, I'll buy that. I think that makes a lot of sense. Maybe I was looking for a distraction too, just in a very different way. Why don't we talk about maybe a lightning round to talk about some of our picks? So my first question for you, Kev, is out of the songs that I selected, obscure, dark, gloomy, whatever they may be, was there anything that maybe surprised you that you thought fit your approach more than my usual approach? Something you really liked out of my picks?
Yeah, again, I liked most of your picks. One that stood out that was more along my, line of thought, I guess, the song Come Alive by Hani El Khatib. I think in the video, it's a little girl training and learning to be the Grim Reaper or Death. And I thought it was really sweet, actually.
Yeah, I really like that one. It just goes to show you with the right mentorship, anyone can go on to do great and important and impactful things. I'll tell you, out of your picks, the ones that surprised me, it was kind of a toss-up between, I think it was called Deep Down Low by Valentino Khan. Toss-up between that one and Tiptoe Through the Tulips, which I know it's a cover, but I thought it was a very creepy cover, very well done cover by, I think that was Cherry Glazer, and a very, very dark video, I would say. Unexpected ghost happened there. Not to give away too many spoilers. Okay, next question of the lightning round, Kev. Are there any of my picks that did make the cut because I fought for them maybe a little bit harder than I should have, that you're disappointed in me and you wish you didn't live 2,000 miles away so that you could more easily just slap me upside the back of the head for making the pick and keeping it in the list?
Well, I abhor violence, so I wouldn't want to hurt you, but if I could restrain you in some way for, like 24 hours and make you watch the music video for The Garden on repeat for that amount of time, I think that you would probably lose your mind because it's just a guy standing in front of a screen doing nothing for 3 minutes.
I've defended it before. I'll defend it again here in a public setting. The Garden by Einstürzen de Neubauten. It features the, I guess, lead singer of the band, Blixa Bargeld. He's not just doing nothing. He's standing. He's staring. He moves his hands occasionally, and he conducts the entire band. And it's very menacing. I felt menaced by the video. I think that might be a fate worse than death if I were restrained and had to watch it for 24 hours. But watching it once in the context of the entire playlist, I think that's appropriate to the season. But what you're trying to do to me, shameful, Kevin.
And I allowed it because there were several of my picks on there that you disagreed with wholeheartedly, but I fought to keep because I thought they were fun and entertaining. Which one of the many did you feel was your least favorite?
I think that's a really easy pick for me to make. It's Blood Red Summer by Coheed and Cambria. I didn't like the video. I didn't like the song. I really don't like the band. It's a personal opinion. It does not appeal to me whatsoever. I don't even think the video was fun. Just because zombies appear in the video, don't make it scary. But yeah, that's absolutely my pick there. How about this though, Kev? Which pick did you make that you were proudest of?
I don't know that I'd say I'm proudest about like the selection, but I'm really glad I found the video for Blood Like Cream by Red Fang. They're a local band up here in Portland. I hadn't seen that video before, and I just kind of stumbled across it. And it was super fun to run into. And I thought, I was like, oh, this has to go on the list. How about you? Is there one that you picked that you maybe it was your favorite or your happiest to add to this list?
There is. And I would say this is probably the best or most appropriate for Halloween anyway. It's a track called Blonde Fire by the Hickey Underworld. Now, I know that I've seen this many years ago, and I'm not like a hipster. A lot of my stuff is kind of obscure, but I thought that it was more prevalent. But the video that I found, and I think this was the only video that I found on YouTube, it is like 8 or 12 years old, but it only has, into the 10 or 15,000 views to it. So it's not very widespread or prevalent like I thought it was. I couldn't tell you how I found it way back when I did find it, or how I remembered it, but I think it is the epitome of very dark, gruesome. It's a rock song with abominations or dangerous kind of visuals. It really has it all, I thought. So I was really proud of that. All right, how about this? I got two more questions for us in the lightning round. Kev, was there a band, an artist or a song in particular that you really wished you could have gotten onto the playlist, but for whatever reason, we just couldn't find the right appropriate video for one of them.
Absolutely. I tried like hell to find a good video by the band Ludo, and I just couldn't find one that really fit. An obvious choice would have been Love Me Dead, but everybody's seen that video. It's less obscure than I was going for. A lot of people are familiar with that one. I feel like it's going to end up on a lot of lists, so I didn't add it. They have a lot of good songs, and it sucks because they specialize in romantic, gothic, horror. That's what a lot of their songs are about. So they would have been very fitting to listen to. So I would check them out if you're not, when you're done with our playlist, go listen to some Ludo for getting the Halloween spirit. What about you?
I was a little disappointed that I couldn't find a music video for really any song by Molchat Doma, which is sort of a post-punk and new wave revival band out of Belarus. Again, that's probably somewhat obscure to a lot of the audience, but a band that I've heard several of their songs. I like the sound. I think it's dark. It's gloomy. Couldn't find anything that really fit the bill. Although I will say one of your picks, which is the band Boy Harsher and their video Fate, they have a similar sound to Molchat Doma, which would have been my pick. So at least there is some of that new wave revival sound going on. I think the last question for this lightning round, and probably the most important, is after sitting here and talking about darker themes and things that are appropriate to Halloween, and encouraging everyone to go out and listen to this playlist and expand their horizons a little bit and maybe get in the spirit. Come November 1st, the folks are going to need a little bit of ear bleach, something to make us feel the opposite of what the Trick or Treat Feel the Beat playlist made us feel. So, Kev, do you have any picks for that?
If you're looking for some decent ear bleach, I think that maybe some Louis Prima or some Antonio Carlos Jobim is always a good break it up a little bit. Some lighthearted, sweet stuff. What about you?
Well, I've got two songs in mind that I think are really positive, really sweet female vocals, really not a hint of danger in either of them. First up is Wishing Girl by Lola Marsh, and the second one is Be Okay by the band Oh Honey. So feel free to use those to cleanse your ears on November 1st, but up until that point, trick or treat, feel the beat. That said, I think it's time for us to end this episode. We want to thank you all so much for tuning in. We encourage you, as always, check out the tracks that we TuneScored in this episode. They're all available on the updated TuneScored tracks playlist on our YouTube Sound Appraiser channel. But for now, that's been Kevin Niebrick. I've been Cary Nightingale. Thanks so much. We'll see you in the next one. Stay sound.